be honest, I never thought I would be doing this again. Especially because I'm supposed to be retired, but yeah. This urge of making a commentary has not died out in the slightest. So, what exactly am I going to be covering today? Well, I'm covering game theory. But what video? I can tell you one thing, it's not the Persona theory. Why? Because first off, I'm not very knowledgeable on Persona 4 or just the series in general. I only know about Persona 5, and I'm right in the middle of playing Persona 4 Golden. Because of that, I can't really cover it. So, what am I going to be covering then if it's not going to be the Persona theory? Well, I'll tell you. It's Link being dead in Majora's Mask theory, which has been published on November 9th, 2013. But why? After all, this video is about 5 years old. So why cover it? Well, MatPat does seem to stand by to these old videos, and because of that, I think it's fair game. Plus, most of his newer videos have the similar problems as his old ones. And you know what's funny about this video in particular? I admittedly like this video, but even so, there's some glaring flaws in this video that I honestly can't ignore. So without further ado, let's get started!
Wheel of Gaming, turn, turn, turn. Tell me the fan base I should burn. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'm going to be skipping the majority of this portion of the video because of the fact that, 1, I do believe that there's nothing wrong with it, and 2, it's just basically MatPat and his co-partner for the video, P-Bar Gamer, talking about the Majora's Mask grief theory. And honestly, I think they did a good job with explaining it. But, in case some people are curious, some people in the Zelda fandom have speculated that the 5 main locations in Majora's Mask represents the 5 stages of grief. Clock Town being denial, Woodfall being anger, Snowhead being bargaining, the Great Bay being depression, and Ikata Canyon being acceptance. It's a pretty good, well-thought out theory that I cannot disagree with. But, with that being said, there is one part of this portion that I do want to comment on.
This grief theory does make a lot of sense, but what is Link grieving? I don't see why you'd say he's dead. The game starts off with him roaming the Lost Woods in search of Navi, who flew away at the end of Ocarina of Time. Why anyone would bother searching for her is beyond me, but Link is a weird kid, so whatever. Wouldn't it make more sense for him to be grieving over her loss? Maybe she died, or maybe he's just sad about losing her.
P-Bar Gamer here has brought up a very good point, especially the fact that anyone who suffers loss in general would be going through the 5 stages of grief. It doesn't have to be death-related that someone could be grieving over. But as we continue further into the video, MatPat has other ideas.
Maybe, but in my mind there's more evidence to suggest something even darker. I propose to you that throughout Majora's Mask, Link is actually in Purgatory, the waiting room of the afterlife, and that the game represents his journey to accept his death and move on. First, look at the name of the place, Termina. That's not even subtle, Nintendo. Termina, like terminal, the end. It's a pretty big red flag. Then look at how Link finds this place. Isn't it a bit strange that Link is fallen down through a tree trunk, but equates to practically a whole new country, with its own astronomically themed nightmare fuel that apparently no one in Hyrule knows about? I mean, planet Earth is a really big place, significantly bigger than Hyrule, and whether you're in Spokane or Djibouti, you know how many moons we have. Really, I ask the question, where is this place supposed to be located?
Underground?
Then how was there a sky? And remember, Link supposedly fell a really long way to end up here. If that's the case, though, he would have died.
Yeah, sorry MatPat, but here's a problem with all this explanation. What's the problem? Well, why don't we take a look at Nintendo's official Hyrule Historia for that answer? On page 110, it actually tells you exactly what Termina is. Months passed as he wandered in search of his companion, Navi, eventually losing himself in a mysterious forest. It just so happened that this forest led to a parallel world known as Termina. Yeah, it's a parallel world, MatPat, similar to the Dark World in Link to the Past, and later on the entries, the Twilight Realm in Twilight Princess. This is not the first time Nintendo has done something like this in the Zelda series. So, you guys may be wondering why I'm bringing up Hyrule Historia for this? Well, let's keep that in mind for later, cause it will bite this theory really hard.
I got the fire started. Fire! Burn! Burn!
And consider the masks. The transformation masks all represent characters who've died. There's Darmani the Goron, whose ghost appears to you, Big Howell the Zora guitarist, who actually dies in front of you, and although it's never actually said, the Deku mask is most likely this little sprout, the deceased child of the Deku butler. Knowing that these different transformations are like assuming the forms of deceased characters, turn your attention to this, the Elegy of Emptiness. It's a song you get late in the game that allows you to create statue clones of your current form. In a lot of ways, they're like funeral effigies, standing there as a memorial to the dead. Now, if the only masks that allow you to create a clone using this song are the ones that are related to dead people, and Link is somehow able to create a clone of himself, that would seem to mean... What would that mean? I'm waiting on you.
But here's another problem with this. Well, granted, it's hard to tell from the Deku statue, since the Deku themselves are quite limited in their expressions. The Goron and the Zora statues share one thing in common: the white eyes. Having cloudy white eyes are a common thing in corpses. So, looking back at the statues again, I must ask you, if both the Zora and the Goron's eyes are white, why isn't Link's? No, I'm actually asking this because the fact that the Link statue's eyes, although creepy, seem to be perfectly fine. I mean, we're actually able to see, the pupils, the iris, and everything else in the eyes clearly. They're not completely white like the Goron and the Zoras. So sorry, try again. Wait a minute.
And that actually makes sense in the timeline, too.
Okay, we'll keep moving on then.
Well, Majora's Mask comes before Twilight Princess according to the official Zelda timeline, right? And in Twilight Princess, there's the hero Shade, a Salvos-looking creature who has officially been confirmed in Hyrule Historia as the spirit of the Hero of Time, aka Link in Majora's Mask. And just in case you doubt they're one and the same, he's left-handed like Link, and most of the songs he uses come from Ocarina and Majora. Anyway, Zelda lore states that those who become lost in the woods are fated to become Astalfos. Although I accepted life as the hero, I could not convey the lessons of that life to those who came after. At last, I have eased my regrets. So the Hero of Time is somehow prevented from teaching others his ways, and that begs the question, why? Why would this hero who has conquered both evil and time have such profound regrets? Could it be that he died prematurely? Could it be that he died in the Lost Woods becoming Astalfos? Could it be? Probably.
And it's later! There is a very glaring issue with this thought. Do you want to know why? Well, let's take a look at page 84 of Hyrule Historia under a little section called Forbidden Forest. This is the name given to Kokiri Forest and the Lost Woods by the humans living outside its leafy borders. Adults lost among the trees turn into Stalfos. Now, considering that Link here in Majora's Mask is clearly not an adult, he wouldn't have become a Stalfos. You want to know what he could have turned into if he really did die in the game as a child? Well, let's continue reading this little bit of info from the Historia. Adults lost among the trees turn into Stalfos, while children turn into Skull Kids. Both are doomed to wander the woods. So, if he died during Majora's Mask, then the hero Shade would have been a Skull Kid instead of a Stalfos. Which means the majority of this video is completely debunked! How did you guys mess this up? Especially considering that the fact that Hyrule Historia itself proves the theory wrong. So there's no excuse here! Well, yes, they were showing off bits of gameplay from Ocarina of Time, where Kokiri Girl says the following.
That guy isn't here anymore. Anybody who comes into the forest will be lost. Everybody will become a Stalfos. Everybody. Stalfos. So he's not here anymore. Only his soul is left.
Surely that line alone from the game should help prove MatPat's theory. Right? Well, no, not really. Why? Well, if you decide to have Navi tell you something about the Skull Kids, regardless if you're a child or an adult, she says this.
Is this what happens to kids who wander into the forest?
With this line, it gives you the idea that everything that the Kokiri Girl tells you isn't completely true. Even if you didn't have Navi tell you anything about the Skull Kids, the Hyrule Historia still proves this theory wrong. At the end of the day, while I don't have any issues with the ending of this video, I feel that this needs to be said. MatPat, you really should do a better job with doing your research when making these theories, because that is the main issue I have with most, if not all of your videos. I'm not saying that you don't do research. Not at all. That would be stupid. I'm just saying that you're not doing enough research to help make your theory stronger, and your Persona 4 theory is the prime example of this. Also, double, triple, and or quadruple check your work to make sure you've gotten all of your facts straight before presenting or even making a theory. Hell, you know what might be a good idea for your future videos? Start linking the sources you use for your theories in your video description so people could see them. Now, you may argue that people could Google the said information themselves, and you might be right on that. However, linking the sources would actually help cover your bases as you are presenting evidence that people can easily access to back up your theories. Regardless, I still enjoy this video, despite its flaws. In fact, I do like some of your work, Pat, but I believe looking over your facts a lot more than you have been would really help your theories and make them better. Now, with all that being said, if you'll excuse me, I'm just gonna continue napping for maybe another few months? Or years? I don't know. Just get out of my forest, please.